Welcome to the Pre-Post Film Review. I'm Matt Stevenson.
And I'm Jon Asquith. So if you're listening for the first time, the way the podcast works is that we talk about a movie trailer for a film, which, if it's a movie trailer, it's probably for a film, so, whatever.
Pretty safe bet.
Yeah. We talk about that. We maybe do a little speculation about what we think might happen in the movie, what our general expectations are. And then when the film is released, we come back and talk about the film itself and sort of compare it to the trailer and whether our thoughts have changed on the movie and whether it lived up to our expectations and all that kind of stuff. And today we're going to be talking about the new Paul Thomas Anderson film, Inherent Vice. Just a side note about the audio quality on this episode. As we are recording over Skype, as Matt recently moved to the UK, in case you haven't listened to the past couple episodes. We apologise if there's any sort of minor dropouts or glitches throughout the episode. We're doing our best to keep that stuff out of the show, but apologies in advance. But it's not that bad, so come on. We're doing the best we can.
Give us a break.
Yeah, give us a break. Come on. Anyway, on to our trailer thoughts for Inherent Vice.
If it's a quiet night out at the beach and your ex-old lady suddenly out of nowhere shows up with a story about her current billionaire land developer boyfriend and his wife and her boyfriend and a plot to kidnap the billionaire and throw him in a loony bin,
I need your help, Doc.
maybe you should just look the other way. But if you're Doc, it may all start to get a little peculiar after that.
Michael Z. Wolfman
And Mickey Wolfman
has vanished.
So where would I find him?
He's technically Jewish, but wants to be a Nazi.
And a girl don't necessarily want to get into difficulties with those folks.
You got a spare picture I could borrow? Ah!
Well, maybe you're better off with the Nazis.
So here we are in the studio again. We've just watched the trailer for the new Paul Thomas Anderson film, Inherent Vice.
We have.
What do you reckon, John?
I think this looks pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see this. I haven't seen any trailers for it until just before we've recorded this.
Yep.
Been sort of trying to steer clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think it looks fantastic. I think from the moment the trailer starts, you see that kind of classic filmmaking sort of style that Paul Thomas Anderson has, where and film. When I say filmmaking, I mean film. Celluloid film, and it's instantly feels like this old 70s, kind of movie, and even more so for this film, obviously, because it's set in the 70s, right?
I think so.
Yeah, or around there anyway. I think it looks really funny. There's Joaquin Phoenix looks hilarious in a lot of these shots in the trailer. It looks like it's got this really quirky sensibility to it and these sort of larger-than-life characters, but all in a way that works.
Yeah.
This kind of... I'm looking forward to watching him, this seemingly, bumbling private detective kind of guy, trying to solve this grander mystery. I love that kind of stuff. And with someone intelligent behind the camera sort of directing all of that, I don't know, the set design, the costumes, everything just looks of the time. I love his shot compositions. There's something very classic and almost Kubrick-esque a lot of the time about them. And I'm really excited. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's exactly the same as you, John. I'm so excited to see this film. I love Paul Thomas Anderson, so just having his name on it is super exciting. But
exactly.
It's kind of... It looks better than I even hoped that it would.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually. When I first read about it, I wasn't particularly excited by the premise.
It seemed like an odd choice for his next film, because he seemed to be building on this sort of these grand themes and perhaps building to some sort of quote unquote masterpiece of cinema. You know what I mean? Not to say that this is a step backwards, but it felt like...
but it's a step sideways.
Yeah, suddenly
definitely.
he was adapting someone else's work. He wasn't writing his
Exactly,
own stuff.
Yeah.
It felt slighter. The fact that it was a comedy, or more comedic at least, than his other stuff, felt like it was a step back towards Punch Drunk Love days, even though I actually love Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
It just felt like an odd next choice. But seeing it, I'm so excited to watch this film. All my concerns are kind of out the window now. And almost like you brought up the Kubrick comparison before, which I think is really apt with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's probably the closest comparison to make at this point.
Yeah,
and this kind of feels like, perhaps his Doctor Strangelove or something. Like Kubrick had the tendency to dip into comedy and do some zany stuff, and I feel like this is kind of Paul Thomas Anderson doing something similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think it looks great. I think exactly like you said, the look of it, the fact that it's shot on film, it just has this texture to it that you can't replicate in any other way.
Yeah, totally.
And I just love the way this trailer is edited together.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
The beats of the trailer, the way the dialogue overlaps and almost like it repeats questions and answers questions with other questions from other characters from other scenes, and it creates this like
very well
whirlwind,
cut,
like complex, crazy, interconnected plot that kind of frazzles your mind when you watch it. It's fucking great. I'm like pegging this as on the list of my best trailers of the year.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's really well made. The text looks really cool too.
Yeah,
There's like neon,
the neon
sort of
lights.
stuff coming up. You'd have to assume that Paul Thomas Anderson had a hand in cutting this together.
Yeah, we
or
think so.
Someone
Whoever
close
did
to
it
him
did a great job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great point.
And like you said, the performances all look really good. I guess just rehashing the comedy thing, but I'm pleased that the comedy seems to work.
Yeah.
Like, even that some of it seems a little slapsticky, which, I don't know, kind of shouldn't work, but it does.
Yeah,
or
totally.
seems to in the trailer at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of Joaquin Phoenix getting hit on the head with bats and knocked over by police. I don't know. It's just there is something. He just pulls it off. With something about his performance.
Yeah.
The way he carries himself.
Totally.
Just works.
Yeah. They're a match made in heaven, these two, Joaquin Phoenix and Paul Thomas Anderson. They're just they're so freaking talented, you know?
Yeah.
Just like oozing from every frame of the films they work on together.
Yeah.
So this is highly anticipated, I guess, for us.
Yeah. I guess the only concern I have, just having said that my fears are out the window, is that now my expectations are too high.
Yeah.
Like this trailer is in some way inaccurately representing the film and it'll be something different and I'll be disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is potential for it to be a bit confusing or a bit convoluted.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a lot of characters and a lot of...
Yeah.
He said this, and then he went over here, and she said that, and like questioning and trying to place dates and times and where people are. There's the potential that it could be a bit muddy in that sense. But
even just less fun. Like that trailer is so bombastic and kinetic, and the way like the score sort of kicks in a third of the way through when he like kicks the door down, and it's I don't know, it's got a propulsion to it that's really infectious. But if the film is kind of this meandering, gumshoe noir thriller, it could be a bit jarring.
Yeah, and in that case, then the comedy, falls a bit flat.
Yeah.
Because it's like sprinkled throughout this long meandering thing that doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see which way it falls.
Yeah.
But I think either way, as with all of his films, it's obviously worth seeing, and the craftsmanship alone is like totally worth the price of admission. And repeat viewing is normally hugely beneficial.
That's very true.
To his films.
Yep. Totally agree. Super excited, John.
Am I?
Me too.
Are you? Ordinarily, we're the ones asking the questions.
And your question is, which side am I on?
Good question.
Wrong answer.
Choto! Kinichiro! Dozo! Moto pancake! Moto pancake! Moto pancake! Hai! Hi. Hi.
All right, John. So we've both recently seen the new Paul Thomas Anderson film, Inherent Vice, that we were both highly anticipating.
Yep.
Do you think it lived up to your expectations now that you finally sat down and watched it?
I feel very torn about this. It lived up to my expectations in a filmmaking sense, I think. And specifically the cinematography, which is always really good with Paul Thomas Anderson. And I just love the way he composes shots. Like, every shot is always really interesting. I think the editing is really good for what it is trying to achieve. I think the performances are awesome, but I had a really hard time enjoying this movie when I was watching it.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just like...
On what level? What sense? What didn't you like?
I know the point. I guess the point is that it's like this kind of drug-fueled mayhem, paranoid thriller mystery. Not a thriller, mystery. But it was too much of that for me. Like, I couldn't understand what was going on, and in
terms of the plot mechanics?
Yeah, most of the time, and I just felt lost for most of the movie. I laughed at some stuff, but I wanted to laugh more. I found it to be, hey, this is funny. You should laugh at this. Rather than just things happening naturally. I don't know. It just felt a bit too forced. The comedy felt too forced most of the time. Yeah, I don't know. I just struggled to get inside the movie. So I was the whole time I was appreciating all the technical stuff, but in terms of affecting me, I just couldn't crack that barrier. And by the end, I was kind of ready for it to be over.
Yeah, a bit exhausted by it all.
Yeah, totally.
Interesting.
Yeah, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think I had a kind of similar reaction to you. I basically wanted to love it more than I actually did.
Yeah.
And similarly, I loved all the technical side of it, just like you did. I think I kind of had less of an issue with following the plot. I think it had such a reputation of being so utterly indecipherable and just, you almost shouldn't even bother trying to follow the plot and just get sort of swept up in this, hazy, drug-fueled paranoia that I expected it to be utterly just unfollowable, is that even a word?
Yeah, which it isn't.
No, yeah, I sort of felt, the intricacies of the plot, and perhaps we can sort of try and break it down in a minute, but the intricacies of the plot were a bit hard to sort of put my finger on, especially when I start thinking about specific moments or specific character motivations. But as a general gist of what was happening and the general motivations behind everything, I thought I pretty much understood all of it, exactly kind of what happened in a broader sense, which in a way was a little disappointing for me. I was expecting it to be more crazy and surreal, sort of more of a mind fuck for you as a viewer, when it was sort of just a extra convoluted noir that I don't know. But having said that, I kind of do like that. If you wanted to, you could sit down and you could watch it 2 or 3 times and probably work out exactly where all the puzzle pieces fit.
I think you could. It's not ridiculously unsolvable or anything.
No.
Everything's there, but it is pretty hard to follow. For me, anyway, for most of the movie, at the end, there's a few things that kind of come together, and
it all comes together.
Just kind of figure out what was going on. But even so, it wasn't a particularly satisfying conclusion or coming together of those elements. For me, it was oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's a bit cynical.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, there is no sort of big reveal. I feel like there is kind of a big reveal in there, but I kind of picked up on that, like the whole Golden Fang plot. And the way they're playing all the sides of it. I think that's a really great idea, but I kind of got that at the point where he goes in and sees all the dentistry being done. And then I understood like the larger picture of it, and then it goes on for another like 45 minutes after that, sort of with other loose ends and plot points. That kind of lessened the reveal. That was never the big reveal. Maybe that's a good thing. Like it sort of unveils all the information in an unconventional way. Like it doesn't have a big twist.
Yeah, that's
ending
true.
or anything like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the problems, I'd say the biggest problem for me probably was the humour, which I think in the trailer we kind of thought really worked really well. Like the trailer's quite hilarious.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of it stuck. I've actually seen the film twice now. I watched it on the plane for a second time while I was flying over here. And it did work better the second time for me, but that's probably to do with, you know, having the right expectations and knowing what I was in for and being able to sort of look out for the right things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of the humor sort of comes from sort of like a sexual angle. Like Bigfoot's often doing weird like sexual things, and you know, there's a lot of the jokes with the two prostitutes. I don't know. It was just. Not that has to be a bad thing, but they kind of didn't land for me like I wanted them to. I thought some of the slapsticky stuff was still quite funny. Like Joaquin Phoenix is just great at
he's so good
playing that stuff. When like when he gets hit in the back of the head or when he gets sort of shouldered by the police officers.
Yeah, I kind of wish it had more of that. You know.
Yeah.
It just felt like hearing you say that. It makes me realize that it's not particularly focused in any way comedically. It's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and together there's not really enough like for you to be laughing the whole time, basically. Yeah,
it's weird. I think I listened to a podcast a little while back, and I think it was Dana Stevens or someone was talking about how it's somehow weirdly kind of just. It should be great, but for some reason it seems sort of like less than the sum of its parts. Like if you break it down, everything about it is fucking brilliant. Yeah. But when you put it together, for some reason it just feels like there's something lacking.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Which is a bit of a shame, but I do think like basically all of his other movies, there is a richness there that grows upon repeat viewing, and there's more to be discovered, and I think there is interesting themes under there. Like there's the whole sort of two sides of the coin with the hippie lifestyle and and Bigfoot representing like the really conservative, you know, aggressive police view of things, and the way that neither of those are kind of relevant anymore. It's about both of them kind of dying and these two characters trying to find their way in, you know, a world where their traditional roles that they used to don't really exist anymore. And they have to find this weird medium point. Actually, the other thing that just reminded me that I really liked was the bizarre, surreal moments. That shit was my favourite stuff in the film. Yeah. Like, right at the beginning when he's first talking about Bigfoot and the TV ad comes on, and he's like talking so about he's selling their houses because he's like this weird actor as well as a cop, which is just
which you just
bizarre.
You kind of find out like halfway through the movie. So that first scene is like, what the fuck is going on?
But then not only that, but then he like looks directly at camera and he's like, "What's up, Doc?" Or like he's talking directly to Doc. And he kind of has this weird moment where you're like, "What the fuck is he talking through the TV to me?" Yeah. Or they're at the end of the film when Bigfoot has his meltdown and he kicks Doc's door in. Yeah. And then they have this like, he like eats all these weed left or something. Like he just stuffs it all in his mouth. Yeah. And then they have this really weird conversation where they both say the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fucking strange.
Yeah.
Like I really loved all that. Like I kind of wish that there was a little bit more of that.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Really wacky, surreal, because that would fit in with the whole drug trippy, like paranoia that's sort of permeates through the film. Because I do think the film does that really well.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know, I just really love those little surreal touches.
Yeah, I agree. This isn't really a overly surreal moment, but I liked the flashback to when Doc and Shasta Fay were like back in their days when they were like addicted to coke, I think. Or they were addicted
I thought
to
it was heroin, but anyway, whatever.
Maybe it was heroin. And they like get this phone call or something. Or no, they use the Ouija board.
Yeah, Ouija board and it spells out a telephone, shows them a telephone number. Yeah.
Yeah, and they call it, and it has like some weird voicemail thing that says, "Come to this address."
Yeah.
Which is just bizarre. And then they go there, and it's like an empty lot.
Yeah.
And that scene was shot really well, and it felt very youthful and vibrant, and you could tell they were in love and all that kind of stuff. And then like when you cut back to present day, the late 70s or whatever it is, and Doc goes there, and the Golden Fang building is there, and it's this bizarrely shaped, giant kind of fang, I guess, of a building. And then he walks in there, and there's no one in there except for one sort of receptionist in this cavernous, reception hall kind of place. I don't know, what the hell do you call that sort of room?
Yeah, reception.
And then just like him, going up and having Martin Short there as this like crazy guy, like that whole sort of thing was just like some bizarre fever dream. But I really enjoyed that. Like, I think that's where it worked really well.
I agree. I think that even that whole Martin Short little mini adventure was really great.
He's good in it.
Yeah, Martin Short can be such an overwhelming presence, and I was a little bit weirded out seeing him in a Paul Thomas Anderson film. He's such a big comic personality, but I don't know, I just loved the like hectic kind of drug-fueled craziness of like how I think it even uses like weird sped up film footage when they start like snorting the lines and it just gets crazy and out of control. Actually, and then there's that other, I mean, I guess that you could probably explain this like literally within the car, but when they get pulled over and they're acting all crazy, and the cops like, I've been told to stop anyone that's displaying like cult-like behaviour, which is like more than 4 people in a car, and if they have long hair or something ridiculous. And then he goes off to check their licenses, and they're clearly like fucked out of their mind. Like the stuff that they're saying just makes no sense. Like she's saying she can see in the dark and all this stuff. And then the cop walks off, and then he walks back, and they've all switched, and Doc's in the driver's seat just randomly, and then he just lets him go. Like it kind of makes no logical sense, and it just seems really surreal and weird, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one of the biggest laughs I had too was when, in that scene when they get pulled over, and Martin Short is just instantly like fucking swearing his head off and so panicked. Yeah, like he can't keep his cool at all. Oh man, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was really great.
Another comic moment that works that's in the trailer is that awesome like scream that Joaquin Phoenix does when he sees the
heroin
the photo
baby.
of the heroin baby or whatever it was.
It's just so weird. It's
really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really bizarre.
Like he's such a good actor, man. Like to be able to pull something like that off, which is so bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that actually heroin baby stuff reminded me of the subplot with Owen Wilson and his wife, I assume, and their kid.
Yeah.
And one of the things I kind of felt with the film is that, I don't know, weirdly, it seems to have the key main storyline is him trying to find Chester Fay, or what happened to her, and this millionaire guy that she was dating who has disappeared. But it also brings in all these subplots that then sort of miraculously all converge into the one story. It just seemed like it's a weird balance. I know you want to be economical and make sure everything's pushing the plot forward, but at the same time it feels almost unbelievable that every single person that came into his office that week or whatever somehow linked back to this Golden Fang conspiracy plot. Do you know what I mean? I guess maybe in the novel there's a bunch of other cases that he's kind of investigating that don't go anywhere, or you know what I mean? Like there's other stuff that he's doing during that time. But I just remember thinking by the end that it was like, it was so convenient that every single thing that he looked into ended up connecting back in. Do you know what I mean? Even though in a way that's kind of good storytelling in a traditional sense because everything's working towards the same goal. I don't know. It's kind of like a double-edged sword with this kind of noir.
Yeah,
mystery.
I agree because the movie is silly sometimes, but not silly enough that you can forgive those sorts of coincidences or, you know, connections that seem a bit unrealistic.
Yeah, I feel like maybe even just like one or two scenes where he had someone come into his office, or even if he just had calls or other people coming in that he was ignoring that he couldn't do because he was so focused on this one thing. I don't know, I guess though the flip side of that is in the whole thing is this kind of like hazy paranoia, and it kind of leads into that when every kind of avenue he travels down pulls him back into this weird dark mystery. Do you know what I mean? It's like he can't escape.
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
being like drawn into this larger conspiracy that's bigger than him and anything that he's had to sort of deal with before.
Yeah. And I guess you know, it's being told, like there's narration from his friend, right? Who is like kind of spiritual and stuff.
Yep.
So in that sense, it's also a story that's being told, and
yeah, that's true.
We're getting it like from a certain perspective in a way.
Yeah, that's very true.
Although, you know, that's another thing I didn't particularly like about the movie was those voiceovers I found just kind of grating and
interesting.
I don't know, that kind of like waxing lyrical bullshitty kind of like up to a certain point I can deal with that, but sometimes where it's just like, you know, and it's very like she has like this croaky voice, like a cool croaky voice all the time. And it's just like, Doc didn't know what he was gonna do that time, and it's just like after a while I can't stomach that sort of thing, and it was trying too hard to be like cool or something.
Don't you think that? I don't know. I like the voiceover. I think it was. I don't know. It was of the time that it was trying to represent. Do you know what I mean? Like it was kind of the point that it was weird and, you know, what's the word? Astrological or whatever. Like I don't think you're meant to see it as being accurate or necessarily even like, I don't know, reliable. Do you know what I mean? Like she's clearly this like wacky hippie that's reading all this crap into, like she talks about like the planets aligning and it being a bad time for whatever. I don't think you're meant to be like, oh, that must be why it's all happening. You know what I mean? Like,
No. I know that. Like, but even so, I don't know. It just started to annoy me after a while. It was just too much for you. Yeah. I sound very cynical in this episode, and I don't want to be.
What did you think of the action scene at the end when Doc escapes from captivity? The one kind of like burst of
I loved it.
Violence when he's actually in danger.
I thought it was awesome. Like it was suddenly really tense. The violence was like sudden and shocking, sort of. Like the gunshots were, I don't know if they were super loud in the audio mix or something, but it was like you really felt the impact of that. And I really liked when he shoots down the stairs at that guy.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like he's hit him, but he's not sure, and he yells out, "Did I hit you?"
Yeah.
And like it's funny and it's silly, but it's also kind of like not real. I guess realistic.
Well, I think so. Like there's an honesty
he's
to
so
it.
like caught up in the panic of it that like you might actually say something like that.
Yeah,
You know, it's
totally
not like
think you would.
in another movie where you're totally sure because you've shot them like dead center in the head and they're falling down and it's like very artistic and poetic. But this is a more kind of gritty, and like the rest of the movie, it's sort of like a bit mysterious and unsure. And so, I don't know. I really like that scene.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Even just sort of when he escapes and he is trying to outsmart the tough guy that's going to come back and, inject him with heroin to make him overdose. And he's kind of like panicked, and he quickly tries to hide behind the door, then realizes that he should be on the other side, then realizes he should turn the light off, and it's just kind of like...
Yeah,
he's kind of, you can tell he's making it up as he's going along, and he's not like this, super well-trained, hitman or something that you so often see in these kind of movies. It's they're cool. Like, there's a fucking panic about it, like you would be in this situation.
Yeah. No, it's a really good scene. And actually, it makes me want... Like, I'd love for this character to come back, like the Joaquin Phoenix character, in another, like a sequel or something, but that is kind of less convoluted, and maybe, I don't know, like he's such a great character. Like, I could watch a TV show where each week he gets into these like crazy madcap, druggy sort of adventures, and has to like squirm his way out, just barely managing to stay alive. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. Actually, that reminds me, speaking of Joaquin's character, I loved his like the almost redundant, even sometimes nonsensical notes that he takes down during his...
Oh yeah, his notes are so good.
It's just like, he just writes down the most random shit. Like, he'll write down one word that you can't even really read.
Exactly.
The first time he meets the, I'm not sure the actor's name, the guy, I think he's from The Wire, where he's got the scar on his face. And he, who was like in prison, and he knew one of the Aryan Brotherhood or whatever. And the first thing he like writes down is like something about like paranoia, and then like hallucinating or something. Oh no.
Yeah.
He writes something about paranoia, and then he says something else, and then he writes like not hallucin or definitely not hallucinating or something like bizarre that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so nice to see. Like, usually noir detectives are so, methodical and write down such clever little clues, but his are just like random shit.
Yeah, I agree. I really love that. Like, he seems professional, and to some extent, I suppose he is, but I love, like, these people are talking to him and just assuming that he's, like, taking down all this information. And the fact that the movie, like, shows you what he's actually writing is just, a really nice touch. And again, like, all these little scenes that we really like, it's a shame that the whole movie doesn't kind of add up to be as good as these little moments.
Yeah, I don't know, it's so strange, because I genuinely do think there's, like, a richness to the film, and... Like, I think, like I said before, I guess there's going to be more and more you can get out of each watching, not only plot, but thematically as well.
Yeah.
But, I agree that if you 100% boil it down to enjoyment, in fact, like, I think I maybe enjoyed it a bit more than you. I certainly did not enjoy it, but it didn't blow me away like I kind of wanted it to.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of conflicted on it in a way.
I must say I think I'm appreciating it more, like, after having this discussion.
I liked I guess I was saying before about the two roles, like the hippie and the conservative thing, but I think the narrative does a good job of, like, it's interesting how the Golden Fang is kind of corrupting both sides of that coin. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're this corporation that's come in who's monetizing and turning the hippieisms, like drug use, into a corporate venture. You know what I mean? Like, they're taking that for themselves, but then they're also corrupting the straight white collars belief of, like, business by, like, bringing the drug world into their corporate environment, and it's kind of like this corrupting of both sides. I don't know, I think there's again, I'm probably too dumb or I need to see it again, but there's, like, interesting shit going on here. Like, it's like there's social, political stuff that it's saying or talking about that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's true. And thinking about that, you have both of those sides, and then what at least Doc comes down on is the main difference he can make is reuniting this family together.
That's the one thing of good that comes out of like the whole film, really.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's like these two big either political or ideological beliefs.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about I guess this is like a life thing in general, right? It's about the relationships you have and about the people that love you, and not necessarily these belief systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as is becoming a kind of theme on this podcast, even though I'm not in love with it, I'm really glad it exists and that Paul Thomas Anderson just took this kind of crazy experiment of a movie to do this like drug-addled, confusing sort of mystery or noir movie. Like, there's no way that was going to be a crowd pleaser, and it shouldn't have to be. And it's just great that it exists and that we can talk about it and that you can dive into it, this much, even without having necessarily enjoyed it wholeheartedly while you were watching it.
Yeah, totally. And I think like even if you don't connect with the plot or you aren't invested in the story itself, I think like you have to appreciate the craft, and there's just the tone and the feel of the film, like the hazy stoner vibe of the whole thing is like nothing.
It does such a good job.
Yeah, I've never seen it sort of nailed as well as it does in this film.
Yeah, it really like screws with your head.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it's nothing obvious really either. Like
it's just
it's not like there's flashy editing with like weird dissolves or like blurry vision or any shit like that. Like it's just that feeling like it feels like you are under the influence of something. Like there's no other way. Or like it's like when you think back to a big night or something and you get these moments, like you don't get a full narrative.
I don't know, that's such a good point that it doesn't use like conventional tricks. Like so many films use certain, stylistic conventions to convey the feeling of, being high or being stoned. But this doesn't do any of that. And yet manages to nail it so much better than anything else I've ever seen. Like I don't know how to describe it other than like the feel and the vibe of the film. It just permeates the whole film.
I guess overall we both really respect this movie, but couldn't necessarily say we enjoy it fully as a movie experience.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's more probably where I'm coming from. I don't know. What are your sort of closing thoughts?
I think I come down a little bit more positive than you. Like I did enjoy it, but I don't know. I also don't want it to come off as if I think it's a masterpiece, because I don't. I think it. I admire it in so many ways, but it also was a little disappointing in other ways. So I guess basically what I'm saying is I wouldn't put it up with the best of Paul Thomas Anderson, but I still think it's pretty damn good and worthy of rewatching and closer analysis. And I'm kind of keen to watch it for a third time and see what else I uncover. Thanks for listening to the Pre-Post Film Review. We'd love to hear what you guys thought of Inherent Vice, whether you loved it, hated it, whether you were stoned when you saw it, anything. Just send us any feedback you have. You can reach us at prepostfilmreview@gmail.com, and we'll reply to any email that is sent to us. It's always great hearing from anyone that has some feedback for the show.
Yeah, totally. You can also keep in touch with us through Facebook. Give us a like over there. Just search Pre-Post Film Review. There's also a link in the show notes. We're also on Twitter, pre-post FR. It's a great way to keep up to date with episodes. We throw out little tweets every now and then, see what everyone's up to. But most importantly, to help us spread word of the show, if you guys could subscribe to us on iTunes, and if you feel inclined, you can give us a review or a rating.
That would be lovely.
That really helps get us featured on lists and get more exposure in general for the podcast. If you just totally hate iTunes, you can also find us on Stitcher or any of the other big kind of podcasting services.
And if you can't get enough of John and I, we're also on Letterboxd. You can find the links to our profiles in the notes for the show. And that's just a great little film community. It's a website that lets you log like a diary of films and review films. And it's just a cool way to keep up to date with what we've been watching and share your thoughts on films that perhaps we don't talk about on the show.
That's right.
And you can join us next episode when we're going to review the new Avengers movie, Age of Ultron.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of CGI punching.
Can't wait. Yeah, totally. I think it took about an hour after seeing the movie for that feeling to go away. I felt kind of in a weird headspace for about an hour after I saw it.
Yeah, just talking about it now is like making me get back into that headspace. I can feel like what it was like watching the film. Yeah.
That's also because you're smoking.
Yeah, I'm just high as fuck right now.